The Ancient Wisdom by Annie Besant, Chapter 11, Part 2. These 6 mental attributes being in some measure attained, the probationary cella needs further but the 4th qualification, the deep, intense longing for liberation, that yearning of the soul towards union with deity that is the promise of its own fulfillment. This adds the last touch to his readiness to enter into full discipleship, for once that longing has definitely asserted itself, it can never again be eradicated, and the soul that has felt it can never again quench his thirst at earthly fountains. Their waters will ever taste flat and vapid when he sips them. So he will turn away with ever-deepening longing for the true water of life. At this stage, he is, quote, the man ready for initiation, close quote, ready definitely to enter the stream that cuts him off forever from the interests of earthly life, save as he can serve his master in them and help forward the evolution of the race. Henceforth, his life is not to be the life of separateness. It is to be offered up on the altar of humanity, a glad sacrifice of all he is, to be used for the common good. And here there's an asterisk, and it says, the student will be glad to have the technical names of these stages in Sanskrit and Pali, so that he may be able to follow them out in more advanced books. And then there's somewhat of a chart outlining these different stages. And so I've captured a digital representation of these, and that's what you're seeing on your screen right now. So I won't bother reading this, as you can read it at your leisure, and I'm just going to continue now with the text. And by the way, this is the second to last chapter, so we're almost at the end of this book. And what remains in this chapter is just a few pages. During the years spent in evolving the 4 qualifications, the probationary cella will have been advancing in many other respects. He will have been receiving from his master much teaching usually imparted during the deep sleep of the body. The soul, clad in his well-organized astral body, will have become used to it as a vehicle of consciousness, and will have been drawn to his master to receive instruction and spiritual illumination. He will further have been trained in meditation, and this effective practice outside the physical body will have quickened and brought into active exercise many of the higher powers. During such meditation, he will have reached higher regions of being, learning more of the life of the mental plane. He will have been taught to use his increasing powers in human service, and during many hours of sleep for the body, he will have been working diligently on the astral plane, aiding the souls that have passed on to it by death, comforting the victims of accidents, teaching any less instructed than himself, and in countless ways helping those who need it, thus, in humble fashion, aiding the beneficent work of the masters, and being associated with their sublime brotherhood as a collaborator in however modest and lowly a degree. Either on the probationary path or later, the cella is offered the privilege of performing one of those acts of renunciation which mark the swifter ascent of man. He is allowed to renounce devachan, that is, to resign the glorious life in the heavenly places that awaits him on his liberation from the physical world, the life which, in his case, would mostly be spent in the middle arupa world, in the company of the masters, and in all the sublime joys of the purest wisdom and love. And I'm going to spell arupa for you here. A-R-U with a circumflex over it, P-A. If he renounced this fruit of his noble and devoted life, the spiritual forces that would have been expended in his divichan are set free for the general service of the world, and he himself remains in the astral region to await a speedy rebirth upon earth. His master in this case selects and presides over his reincarnation, guiding him to take birth amid conditions conducive to his usefulness in the world, suitable for his own further progress and for the work required at his hands. He has reached the stage at which every individual interest is subordinated to the divine work, and in which his will is fixed to serve in whatever place and in whatever way may be required of him. He therefore gladly surrenders himself into the hands he trusts, accepting willingly and joyfully his place in the world in which he can best render service and perform his share of the glorious work of aiding the evolution of humanity. Blessed is the family into which a child is born, tenanted by such a soul that brings with him the benediction of the Master and is ever watched and guided, every possible assistance being given him to bring his lower vehicles quickly under control. Occasionally, but rarely, a cella may reincarnate in a body that has passed through infancy and extreme youth as the tabernacle of a less progressed ego. When an ego comes to the earth for a very brief life period, say for some 15 or 20 years, he will be leaving his body at a time of dawning manhood, when it has passed through the time of early training and is rapidly becoming a vehicle for the soul. If such a body be a very good one, and some cella be awaiting a suitable reincarnation, it will often be watched during its tendency by the ego for whom it was originally builded, with the view of utilizing it when he has done with it. When the life period of that ego is completed and he has passed out of the body into Kamaloka on his way to Devachan, his cast-off body will be taken possession of by the waiting cella. A new tenant will enter the deserted house, and the apparently dead body will revive. Such cases are unusual, but not unknown to occultists, and some references to them may be found in occult books. Whether the incarnation be normal or abnormal, the progress of the soul of the cella himself continues, and the period already spoken of is reached when he is, quote, ready for initiation, close quote. Through the gateway of initiation, he enters as a definitely accepted cella on the path. This path consists of 4 distinct stages, and the entrance into each is guarded by an initiation. Each initiation is accompanied by an expansion of consciousness, which gives what is called the key of knowledge belonging to the stage to which it admits, and this key of knowledge is also a key of power. For truly is knowledge power in all the realms of nature. When the cella has entered the path, he becomes what has been called the houseless man, in quotes, the houseless man. And then there's an asterisk here, so there's a footnote, and it says, the Hindu calls this stage that of the parivrajaka, the wanderer. The Buddhist calls it that of the srotapati, he who has reached the stream. The cella is thus designated after his first initiation and before his second. Okay, let me start this sentence again. When the cella has entered the path, he becomes what has been called the houseless man, for he no longer looks on earth as his home. He has no abiding place here. To him all places are welcome, wherein he can serve his master. While he is on this stage of the path, there are 3 hindrances to progress, technically called fetters, which he has to get rid of. And now, as he is rapidly to perfect himself, it is demanded from him that he shall entirely eradicate faults of character and perform completely the tasks belonging to his condition. The 3 fetters that he must loose from his limbs ere he can pass the second initiation are the illusion of the personal self, doubt, and superstition. The personal self must be felt in consciousness as an illusion and must lose forever its power to impose itself on the soul as a reality. He must feel himself one with all. All must live and breathe in him, and he in all. Doubt must be destroyed, but by knowledge, not by crushing out. He must know reincarnation and karma and the existence of the masters as facts, not accepting them as intellectually necessary, but knowing them as facts in nature that he has himself verified, so that no doubt on these heads can ever again rise in his mind. Superstition is escaped as the man rises into a knowledge of realities and of the proper place of rites and ceremonies in the economy of nature. He learns to use every means and to be bound by none. When the cello has cast off these fetters, sometimes the task occupies several lives. Sometimes it's achieved in part of a single life. He finds the second initiation open to him, with its new key of knowledge and its widened horizon. The cello now sees before him a swiftly shortening span of compulsory life on earth, for when he has reached this stage, he must pass through his third and fourth initiations in his present life or in the next. In this stage, he has to bring into full working order the inner faculties, those belonging to subtle bodies, to the subtle bodies, for he needs them for his service in the higher realms of being. If he have developed them previously. This stage may be a very brief one, but he may pass through the gateway of death once more ere he is ready to receive his third initiation, to become the swan. The swan in quotes. The individual who soars into the empyrean, that wondrous bird of life whereof so many legends are related. On this third stage of the path, the cello casts off the fourth and fifth fetters, those of desire and aversion, and he sees the one self in all, and the outer veil can no longer blind him, whether it be fair or foul. He looks on all with an equal eye. That fair bud of tolerance that he cherished on the probationary path now flowers out into an all-embracing love that wraps everything within its tender embrace. He is the friend of every creature, the lover of all that lives in a world where all things live. As a living embodiment of divine love, he passes swiftly onward to the fourth initiation that admits him to the last stage of the path, where he is beyond the individual, the worthy, the venerable. Here he remains at his will, casting off the last fine fetters that still bind him with threads, however fragile, and keep him back from liberation. He throws off all clinging to life in form, and then all longing for formless life. These are chains, and he must be chainless. He may move through the three worlds, but not a shred of theirs must have power to hold him. The splendors of the formless world must charm him no more than the concrete glories of the worlds of form. Then, mightiest of all achievements, he casts off the last fetter of separateness, the I-making, capital I-making faculty, which realizes itself as apart from others, for he dwells ever on the plane of unity in his waking consciousness on the Buddhic plane, where the self of all is known and realized as one. This faculty was born with the soul in the essence of individuality, and it persists till all that is valuable in it is worked into the monad, and it can be dropped on the threshold of liberation, leaving its priceless result to the monad, that sense of individual identity which is so pure and fine that it does not mar the consciousness of oneness. Easily then drops away aught that could respond to ruffling contracts, and the cellist stands robed in that glorious vesture, of unchanging peace that naught can mar. I'm going to read that sentence again. Easily then drops away aught that could respond to ruffling contacts, and the cella stands robed in that glorious vesture of unchanging peace that naught can mar. And the casting away of that same eye-making faculty has cleared away from the spiritual vision the last clouds that could dim its piercing insight, and in the realization of unity, ignorance falls away, and the man is perfect, is free. Then has come the ending of the path, and the ending of the path is the threshold of nirvana. Into that marvelous state of consciousness that Cella has been wont to pass out of the body while he has been traversing the final stage of the path. Now, when he crosses the threshold, the nirvanic consciousness becomes his normal consciousness, for nirvana is the home of the liberated self. He has completed man's ascent. He touches the limit of humanity. Above him there stretch hosts of mighty beings, but they are superhuman. The crucifixion in flesh is over. The hour of liberation has struck, and the triumphant "It is finished" rings from the conqueror's lips. See? He has crossed the threshold. He has vanished into the light nirvanic. Another son of earth has conquered death. What mysteries are veiled by that light supernal? We know not. Dimly we feel that the supreme self is found, that lover and beloved are one. The long search is over. The thirst of the heart is quenched forever. He has entered into the joy of his Lord. But has earth lost her child? Is humanity bereft of her triumphant son? Nay, he has come forth from the bosom of light, and he is standing again on the threshold of nirvana, himself seeming the very embodiment of that light, glorious beyond all telling, a manifested Son of God. But now his face is turned to earth. His eyes beam with divinest compassion on the wandering sons of men, his brethren after the flesh. He cannot leave them comfortless, scattered as sheep without a shepherd, clothed in the majesty of a mighty renunciation, glorious with the strength of perfect wisdom and the power of an endless life. He returns to earth to bless and guide humanity, master of wisdom, kingly teacher, divine man. Returning thus to earth, the master devotes himself to the service of humanity with mightier forces at his command than he wielded while he trod the earth of discipleship. He has dedicated himself to the helping of man, and he bends all the sublime powers that he holds to the quickening of the evolution of the world. He pays to those who are approaching the path the debt he contracted in the day of his own fellowship, guiding, helping, teaching them as he was guided, helped, and taught before. Such are the stages of man's ascent from the lowest savagery to the divine manhood. To such goal is humanity climbing. To such glory shall the race attain. And that concludes chapter 11. And there's one chapter left in this book, and it's called Building a Cosmos. Kosmos. And till soon.